We take $1.5 million agents and get them to 6 million.
Yeah.
So fun. You take people doing 6 and get them to 60.
This is Stay Paid, a sales and marketing podcast on a mission to help you close more deals and retain more business.
Welcome to another episode of Stay Paid. I'm Joshua Stike along with Luke Acree. And before we bring on our guest today, we'd love it if you take a minute to subscribe to Stay Paid on Apple Podcasts or Spotify if you're not already. And while you're there, drop us a review to let us know how we're doing. We'll read it here on the show. Our guest today is Sherri Johnson. Sherri is a dynamic, high-energy expert in real estate, management, brokerage coaching, and consulting. She's trained and coached thousands of agents from $0 to making over $6 million in their first year, as well as has grown experienced agents' annual sales from 10 million, 20 million, and even over 50 million. Altogether, Sherri has helped over 700 agents and managers generate over 1.5 billion in annual sales. Sherri, welcome to Stay Paid. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hi, Josh. Thanks for having me. Both of you, I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Sherri, it's awesome to have you on the podcast. We were just talking before, and I'm super excited to have you on. Reason why is because you have so much experience really helping not only new agents, although we might talk about new agents on the show, but helping agents really pull the best out of them and giving them what you're calling is the playbook. And because one of the big pain points that Josh and I see is that agents just get pulled everywhere. It's just like a hamster wheel that they're on. And how do you get off that hamster wheel? How do you build a structured business? We're going to talk about that today. Before we do that, though, would love for you to kind of share the Cliff Notes version of your journey, like what led you to being so successful in real estate, kind of lead us up to today now that you're in coaching as well.
Well, thank you. And, I got my license in 1996. And it's kind of a funny story. My father said to me, very self-made man, he and my mother had a commercial printing company that they started with $500, and they were wildly successful. One of the top printing companies in Ohio and in the Midwest. And I grew up in that. And I think what he said to me when I got my license, he said, you may want to get another job because you may not sell a house for 6 months. Like, we knew nothing about real estate. We had lived in a house for 19 or 20 years. They built their next house, which is, I met this guy that was the builder's son, and the builder kept saying, you need to get your license. And so when I finally got my license, my dad did say that to me. And I was like, Dave, if it takes me 6 months to sell one house, I will not be doing this, and it will be an epic fail. I will choose another career. So I don't know if he said it on purpose to light a fire, but it worked because I actually had 5 sales in my first month.
Wow.
And only one of them was from my sphere. And the other 4 came from, working the phones and doing open houses. And fear of failure is what drove me, Luke. I was very, I came from an extremely workaholic, intense family. I'm a recovering alcoholic as well, which is kind of a cool thing to hear. I love to hear people's crazy stories in their lives, but I literally hit the ground running. And I was just like, I have to do this. And I have to, I had a car payment. I was 26 years old. I had a car payment, a condo payment, and a really high shopping habit, and I probably still have arguably, I still have the same high shopping habit today. But here's what happened. I will tell you, I just kept writing back and saying, here's what I've done. And, eventually, when you put your mind to something, you can do anything. And I think my biggest passion of coaching people is helping them break through these, disbeliefs that people have that they can't be exactly what they want or have the life they want and have the financial freedom that they deserve. And so I started my sales career and quickly went, from 7 to 14 million in 1 year through a Goldmine Pipeline system that I have. I'm going to share that with you. That's kind of really the essence of the playbook and my system. It's so exclusive. It's so awesome.
What did you call it? You called it the gold. What did you call that?
Goldmine Pipeline.
Goldmine Pipeline.
Like
okay,
sitting
awesome.
on a gold mine.
Okay.
And our agents just don't realize how much business they have. I help them monetize that and see it and feel it and see themselves doing 10 million. And so I always promoted myself in my printing background. And you understand with print marketing, I presented myself as if I was already a $5 million agent, a $10 million agent until I was. And so
that's a golden nugget.
I think it's part and part like drive, determination, like literally perseverance. And, so I sold for 10 years. And then I want to say this part's kind of cool. In 1997, a year after I had my first year in real estate, I had been a consultant in the past. I had been a sales trainer. I have a degree in organizational behavior and leadership development. And I did a lot of that for my parents' company. And I was a big sales trainer. And I wanted to have a national speaking, coaching, and consulting company one day in life. And I was 27 years old in 1997 when I said that. And, on purpose, I sold for 10 years. I went into management and leadership roles with the company that I was with, which I started with a company in Cleveland, which was Smythe Kramer Company. And right when I was still in sales, they were purchased by a huge, actually now the largest privately owned company, Howard Hanna Real Estate, which is out of Pittsburgh. They came into the Cleveland, Ohio market, bought our company. We had like 2,000 agents. I was in the top 20. And as soon as they bought our company, I was like, I want to be a manager with you guys. And they were like, okay. And so about a year and a half later, I started a management career with that company, which led me to manage offices of about 50 to 75 agents. And then offices, I had one office that was 150 agents. And then after about 14 months later, I became I was a vice president, but I became the regional manager and VP for the west side of Ohio, and started with 500 agents, grew it to 750. And then what was really fun was we grew intentionally through Goldmine Pipeline and coaching. And I had 13 offices, and we grew the sales volume from 600 million to just over 1.7, almost 1.6, 1.7 million in 4 years. And, intentionally with a plan, with great managers, great management team, leadership of those people. But really, they did the heavy lifting. I just helped them, guide everybody and break ceilings everywhere. And, with that came increases in profit, which was the best part of the whole ride. I mean, it was a blast, and they're a great company, and I enjoyed every single minute that I was there. It was just a fantastic experience.
I was going to say, there's
5 years later, I started Sherri Johnson coaching in 2017. I was 50. No, I was 47, and
47 years young.
I was 40. Yeah, I was 47. It's crazy to say, but 20 years later, walked off the cliff of that really awesome executive job I had, and single mom that I am. I have 2 kids. I'll tell you about that in a minute. But I just said, I'm doing this. And I walked off and just started a national company. I was very lucky that I made relationships quickly with homes.com. I became their national speaker in the first probably 4 or 5 months. Major brands started hiring me to be their preferred coaching company, like Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. And they've got, I think 150 total with Home Services of America brands. So I started doing executive coaching, management coaching, teams, and individual agents. We built a Sherri Johnson Academy.
Jeez.
It's been unbelievable. And, I have coaches. We have I think we have really a secret, exclusive type. I'm probably the only coach that I know who's actually been on the broker side as well, and coached and trained agents from that perspective and understands the broker side. There are great coaches out there, don't get me wrong, but I don't know, I engage at every level, and brokers love me because I help increase their brand and help increase their retention. And agents love us because really what we do, Luke and Josh, is we take motivated agents and we accelerate their results. I can't motivate, none of us can motivate a satisfied person. And so our systems, our solutions, the way that I teach, and it's just all value added and systems driven and numbers. It's like you aren't talking to enough people. That's why you're not selling enough houses. And I'll tell you more about
it's really that simple,
It is. It is. And I think, it's so complicated because let's face it, the greatest thing about real estate is it's flexible, right?
Right.
The worst thing about real estate is it's flexible.
Right.
And everyone's getting ready to get ready.
Yeah.
My friend Wayne that I used to work with, this guy, he's awesome manager at Howard Hanna. he taught me that phrase. And it's like, everyone's getting ready to get ready instead of just getting into action. So I think, done is better than perfect. And that comes from a perfect person who,
well, you
I
have
violate that a lot. But I know that agents get hung up on, doing the wrong things, and they just have to have a place.
And I think what happens to them too is that they feel like there's this system out there, like this magic system they're supposed to find that everybody knows in their heart of hearts doesn't really exist. And I'm actually coming to terms with, it's no longer about educating people that there's no magic system. They already know that. It's about educating people that you're using that as an excuse to cause an action. Like you act like we use things like that in our lives as an excuse. There's so many gems out of your story that I'm pulling, just like in the principles of success, which is, look, you decided not to put limiting beliefs on yourself. Like the idea that you're not going to sell a home within 6 months, like that's a limiting belief. You're not going to have that belief. You're going to break through that. You sold 5 homes in a month. Not only that, you had a vision, almost, Think and Grow Rich. You have this vision board of, I want to be an international coaching company. And now when you reach 47 years old, after years and years and years, you actually get there. What you put out, you tend to get back in this life. And that's what people need to understand from a principal's perspective. And then what I loved what you said, and you just said it just kind of nonchalant, but it's so powerful, is you grew Howard Hanna from, what was it, 600 million to 1.7 billion in 4 years. But you said intentionally.
On purpose.
Meaning like you can't skim over. For people have to understand, like, look, this doesn't just happen. You have to be intentional about your plan and working that plan. So I would love to hear you talk about this Goldmine strategy, this pipeline that you have, and how you teach agents. Can you walk us through what does that framework look like would help agents do the same?
Pre-show, I should have told you, we have goldminepipeline.com, which is amazing that it was available, and we have it. Thank you to my producer. But here's the thing. The system is, it's a strategy, and it's not a CRM system. Everybody says it's a CRM, and I say, no, it's not a CRM. You need a CRM, but my Goldmine Pipeline strategy is that. It is a strategy to have a full pipeline for future business. Most agents are only giving their time and attention to 2 to 3, maybe 4 or 5 people max that want to do something right now, like in the now, just these people that want to do something. So they're sitting at their desks working on 2 or 3 clients for 40 hours a week, right? If we're working a 40-hour work week, doing research, doing what they think is dollar producing activities, except it's not, because if those 2 to 3 or 5 people don't pan out this month, they have a 0 again for the month in a goose egg. And we can't have that, because you have goals, you have a why, you have bills to pay. Let's just start with that. And so the Goldmine Pipeline is for me, what I love about it, it doesn't matter what experience level someone is. I have agents that are doing 200 million that we coach that use the Goldmine Pipeline. Their entire team uses it. Goldmine Pipeline actually creates predictable and consistent monthly income. 2 things that most agents never have, but they do this, right? They sell a house, they don't sell a house, they sell a house. And so Goldmine Pipeline does this. We're going to just increase. We're going to do $5,000 a month. Okay. We're going to do $10,000 a month. Okay. Do 15, 20, 60, $100,000 a month, make 7 figures, whatever you want to do. Goldmine Pipeline is more of a strategy of monetizing the amount of sales, potential sales you have. So take, for example, an agent who has, 20 listing leads, okay, 20 listing leads at $300,000 each, right? That's $6 million. $6 million. The problem, Luke, is that they don't see those 20 listings. They don't realize they're right under their nose. They only talk to the 2 listing people that are saying, hey, Sheri, I want to list my house. So what we have to do is I want every agent to look at every opportunity as a potential lead. So when I was brand new in real estate, my first year, I wrote these Goldmine Pipelines. I didn't call it the Goldmine Pipeline, then I just called it the pipeline of business. But I was like, all right, I sold a house. I sold 5 houses. Where are the next 10 coming from? And so every agent is only dealing in like these 3 to maybe 2 to 5 people. What if they were talking to 30 people about listing their house at varying stages of their buying and selling process? So every agent discounts the person who's not ready right now. And, even a 2-year out person is going to sell. And usually those people make a decision to move a lot sooner than 2 years. Now, even if they're 2 years, I'll leave them on my list for 2 years. I'm not going to show them houses for 2 years, but I'm going to be in touch with them, stay together with them, right? And I'll never forget, I have a great example. I love open houses. I think it's the easiest lead generating system that exists, but most agents don't know how to convert the leads. So we have this session, a strategy, a course called Make 50 Grand at Your Next Open House. And what it is that agents can actually convert the leads and get listing appointments from them. So early on, I did, when I was an agent, I did an open house and I stayed in touch with someone for 11 months. Now, I wasn't showing them houses for 11 months, but I would call them. It takes 45 seconds to leave a voicemail.
How often
Sheri,
would you call?
Twice a month.
Love that.
I sent you new listings. I'm ready to look at houses. Call me back. It got to the point where they ghosted me in today's terms. And what they would do is just not call me back. So then I started saying, hey, Sherri Johnson, I hope you're doing well, blah, blah, blah. I sent you some other listings. I know probably now is not the right time. I'm waiting for you to call me. Then I said to them, tell me if you don't want me to call you. And yes. I would laugh. And then I would say, I'm probably still going to call you anyway. And, they loved it. And 11 months later, they called me and they said, Sherri Johnson, you're the only agent who stayed in touch with us. We want you to list our house and sell it. And sell its new house. And so I went there that week. I did that. I sold their house, sold them a new house. Less than 2 years later, they moved up and we sold the house. I sold them for $450 and they bought for $650. So 4 deals in 2 years just by staying with people.
Going the extra mile.
Follow up. And opportunities are not lost. They go to someone else. So if we don't follow up with these people, they're going to buy a house from someone. And guess what? It's either going to be with you, right? Or it's going to be with someone else that closes them. So I believe that I have this system where you have to get an appointment. You have to have an appointment. And I always say, I'll say to people, hey, who has a listing appointment? And agents will raise their hand and I'll say, who has a listing appointment? And you just don't know the address yet, and I throw my hand up and everybody's like, I do, and it's a quote that we say all the time. You just don't know the address. So mindset of being successful is I'm going to be successful at this open house on this moment, this 2-hour stretch of calling people right now. I'm going to close.
That's
and
so
not
true.
Up until I do. I'm going to keep calling. I'm going to be talking to people. So Goldmine Pipeline is a way to cast a wider, bigger net so that instead of having 3 people on your list, you have 30.
Yeah, you're funneling people.
30 buyer leads. And guess what? Every month, so many of them are going to shake out because I don't know. Motivation changes. I'm staying in touch with people. I'm converting them. They decide they want to do it now. They can't stop thinking about it after they heard from you or they met you. So you have to fill the pipeline. And then from that pipeline, those are the people you need to get appointments with.
Well, when you look at it, I was just going to ask
you. They have a huge disconnect between setting a goal and how many people are, how many appointments they have every week.
Yeah. And
no one has an appointment filled with, their calendar filled with appointments. That's where the problem lies.
Yeah, 100%.
Talking to people.
Well, let me ask you, from a tactical standpoint, I think one of the big struggles would be, so I'm listening to you say this, and as an agent, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I need to fill the pipeline. You mentioned phone calls. Would you recommend I call a certain amount of time a day? I drip on people a certain amount of touch points. Obviously, there's a ton of different touch points you can do, and all of them can be valuable to a certain extent. But what's your kind of feedback on how many calls I should make a day, or what you see tends to be successful for your agents?
So there are coaches that say, if people don't call you back after the 3rd time, to drop them and move on. That is not my teaching. That's not my style. That's not my strategy. Like I said, follow up with people forever, until they say they're not interested anymore. And in terms of when to call them, and how often, I think if you have appointments, number one goal for every agent is that they should have a number of listing appointments goal per week. Mm. If you have set that, let's say it's 4, I have to go on 4 listing appointments a week. You're going to crush it.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything else happens after you go. Without a listing appointment, you have nothing. So set a goal for how many listing appointments you need to set. And then people say to me, well, how many calls do I have to make? I don't know. I don't know how effective you are at converting those calls. The more you have a better strategy, the better you are at providing value, you will get hired. So I think that you need to call people as often as you got to keep that conversation going. You know, I wrote an article once on always get the next appointment. Your hairdresser does, you know, so can you. And the truth is, my hairdresser is not letting me leave her salon until she has booked me for another 6
So
weeks
smart,
out, right?
yeah.
Because she doesn't have her chair filled. She has to have people in her chair 6 weeks from now. We have to have the mentality that I need to have people in the pipeline 6 weeks from now. In fact, wouldn't it be awesome, everyone listening to this, if you could say, I'm going to have 3 listings and 3 sales. I mean, today is April. So if I could say in June, I'm going to have 3 listings and 3 sales. I'm going to go to September, 4 listings and 5 sales. November and December, predict what you're going to. When you fill the pipeline, that's what ends up happening. You are building what I call the Alaskan pipeline, goes on forever. So too does your Goldmine pipeline, because you're creating future business for yourself that you're going to want and need 6, 8 months, 10 months,
yes,
18 months from now. Total difference in mind shift. But back to making those calls. If I'm going to sit down and make 10 calls, I'm going to get 5 to 7 appointments. But
geez,
somebody else might
you're
have
a
to make
freaking
25
ninja.
calls.
Yeah.
It depends on who you're calling. But I think if agents were more strategic about what they're saying and how they say it, and getting and adding value and asking the right questions, you could get an appointment from anybody that you call. It's just a matter of having that mindset that I'm going to be successful. You know, yes. I tell agents all the time, if you make 10 calls, one person says yes, right? 10 calls, 10 grand. If they have a house to sell, what's 10 calls, 20 grand? And then they go, well, it sounds so much better when you say it. And I say, that's because I added an element of success after it.
Yeah. And if you are listening to this right now and you think to yourself, oh, come on, that's what she's talking about. That's what she's talking about, because it is true. And I'm going to testify to what she's saying. It is true. Like, the people who win are the ones who believe and enter into their prospecting that way. They're the ones who win because they don't enter in with that negative mindset, and it ends up, they keep going on making their calls. They never give up. Also, to back up what you're saying, I literally was on the phone with an agent today, and we've been providing Facebook leads for them for over a year and a half. And the agent decided to do something a little different. Instead of just calling today, making the calls to the newest leads that came in, they flipped the queue around for them and they called the oldest Facebook leads. And their answer rate actually went through the roof, and their engagement went through the roof. And here was why. Because no other agents were calling these people anymore. They hadn't received phone calls in a really long time. So it was like he entered in with this pitch. He did this yesterday, entered in with the pitch, just going, hey, I know you were looking at homes. Just want to check in. You probably found a home by now, I'm sure. And he said most people would go, well, actually, we haven't found one. And he would have these combos. Right. And so it was just, it proves your point that it's like, if you can think in terms of the funnel, in terms of the pipeline, for your word for it, like, you can really make a huge difference in your business. And the truth is, Josh and I run a pretty big company with Reminder Media. We're not thinking in terms of only today. We're thinking in terms of by the end, we're already planning out into the year stuff. Like, that's how a business actually functions. Now, I wish I could give Josh and I more credit. We're not the best, but that's the point of
it goes to the name of your company. I mean, how am I going to make money? Agents think, they always say to me, well, I closed on 2. I don't care what you closed. Where's your next deal coming from?
Yes.
Like, I love that you had a closing, but like, it is more important, everybody, to be making prospecting or connection calls. If you don't like the word prospecting, I mean, we're in sales, everybody. This is not, we're not doing this. Like, the term realtor is great, but I think you call yourself a sales associate. You're a sales account manager. And you add value and people hire you. And if you're magnetic and you add tremendous value and you know your value proposition, you can get an appointment with anybody. How often you call them. And, I love that he went to the old ones first, because you can say to somebody, like, take every lead that's in your dashboard and just send something to them that says, still thinking of making a move. Buy a house yet? I love that's exactly my approach. You buy a house yet? I call for sale by owners and I say, did you sell a house yet? I hope you did. You know, and they're like, no. And I'm like, oh, not again. Sorry. Not sorry. Sorry.
That is so great.
But you know, it's if you have a better strategy, you win. Like, stop just winging it, everybody. You know, like, be intentional, be on purpose, be intentional,
and consistent, doing the little things. It's like, how do you get through the desert? Just one step at a time, keep walking. Like it's like, you don't sit down, don't sit there and build a hut. Don't sit there and think it over. Like, literally just keep walking.
And you said it earlier. I say to people all the time, there's no magic pill. Like, it's hard work. It's easy, hard work.
Yeah.
That's what I call it. But drip campaigns are awesome. You know, create your own campaign of following up with people. The fortune is in the follow-up.
We found,
on text.
I was just going to say on that, we found 18 calls was like the minimum you have to make to try to get an appointment. And you should never let the lead go. But in the consistency maybe of your calls, you can put them on email drips, you can put them on text drips, you can put them on, you know, a phone call maybe now once every 2 weeks. But you should make 18 calls over the course of literally like 2 weeks to these people. And most people, when they hear that, they go, no way, you shouldn't have called 18 times. No, you absolutely should for these leads.
Well, and here's the other thing. I called that couple for 11 months. Okay. I made 4 sales happen because of that tenacity. You know, it's not that hard. It's not that hard to leave a voicemail. It's not that hard to follow up with people. Stop thinking that these aren't good leads. You know, stop thinking that just because someone's not ready today, that they're not going to be a legit customer. The greatest thing that happens is, you know, you get an appointment. I add value to the process. You need me now. I work with people for weeks or months before we put a sign in their yard. In fact, Luke, I'm not coming to list your house. I mean, I am, right? If I want to get an appointment, though, I want to say something like, I'm coming to see it. And I add value to the process because I will tell you what things you want to put in. You know, so the house in 14 years, how would you know that the slate floor in the back should be, you know, keep that? Buyers love slate today. You're thinking you need to spend money where you don't have to. I mean, I'm going to get them to sign a listing agreement. Then I'm going to give them all my advice, but you have to get an appointment. Appointments make sales happen. And you can't wait for people to say, Sheri, I'm ready to list my house. We love that. We know what to do with people who are ready to go. All those other people, get an appointment. Be the first one to see that house, right? By the time when you get that listing appointment, and I love this story because this is what happened. Like, you go through the house, you ask really good questions. You know, you're in their master bath, you're in their master closet. It's pretty personal, right? You get back to the kitchen. Yeah, you sit at the kitchen table. The dog that doesn't like anybody loves you. And, you know, and they're like, oh my gosh, that's so crazy. Buster doesn't like anybody. He sure loves you, right? And you're like, the dog loves me. Everybody loves me. List your house with me, you know? And it just is cementing this relationship that they're not going to interview another person, you know? And one of my favorite closing lines at a listing is to say to someone, you know, Jennifer, right when you're walking back to the kitchen, this is bold, but it works, is, hey, Jennifer, you know what? Before I leave, I'm going to need a key. And guess where Jennifer goes? Right over to the junk drawer to get the key and puts it right down in front of you. And you just keep talking, right? And you're like, I'm getting this listing because
yeah, that is so great. You know? It's like a tie down. Yeah.
If you don't have, listen, you need a Goldmine Pipeline. And here's what I find. Our new agents, it's, you know, they got to get people on it. The goal is to fill it. And then the goal is to convert the business. We have people that come to me and they're like, I have 4 buyers and I'm horrible and I'm miserable and I'm a loser. And I'm like, no, you are not. You just haven't done one of these sheets in a while. This agent, this is so interesting. I said, you have 4 buyers. Okay. I said, how many listings are you working on? How many people want to sell their house? She said, well, I have a ton of those. I said, great. How many is a ton? She said, oh, probably 25. I said, you have 25 listing leads and you're not happy? She's like, yeah, about 25 at least. I said, are they all moving out of state? She said, no, none of them are. I said, well, let's do the math there. That's 50 pieces of business plus the 4 you walked in my office with. That's 54 pieces of business. Please go write them all down, put the amount down, fill the form out, come back to me in 30 minutes, which she did. It was $12.5 million of business.
Jeez.
Stuff like that. And she's like, I've never done more than $4.5 million. I said, well, this year you're going to do 8. So let's go make this happen. Okay. So she was hugging me. Her entire mind shift, everything, her whole demeanor changed. We take $1.5 million agents and get them to 6 million.
Yeah.
So fun. You take people doing 6 and get them to 60. Whatever you want to do, you can do. You just have to be the first person to believe it. Just be the first person to believe you can do it. Stop listening to the naysayers. Listen, if I listened to all the people that said, oh, honey, you're really brave to go out there and start a coaching company, nobody signs up. And I said, okay, sorry that was your experience, but I was like, I know what I'm doing. Like the confidence that we instill in people is so huge. And it starts with our kids, and it starts with our youth, and it starts with everybody that you have an impact on. I am not just selling houses. I mean, I or teaching people how to sell houses. We're changing lives. And, I just want to impose on every single person listening to this. You can do whatever you want. Stop comparing yourself to other people and start looking inward at what you're capable of doing, because you can do anything. I mean, I had this woman, she was a single mom of triplets, making $23,000 a year. And she makes $250 now. She's a rock star. It's one of the best stories. It's on my podcast. But, do you really tap into your potential? The best thing about coaching is we're not making people great. They're already great. We're just pulling their greatness out of them.
Yeah, I love that.
And that's what good coaches do. Good coaches pull the greatness out of everybody, whether it's a sports coach or, we all are coachable. And it's the best front row center seat that I get to have, watching all these people's lives change. And, they come up to me and they're like, I was going to get out of the business and I did the pipeline. And so if you're struggling right now, the Goldmine Pipeline gets you out of a funk. Like that woman who had $12.5 million and she thought she was a loser. And now she thinks she's on top of the world. Which, by the way, she closed $8 million.
There you go.
You're always looking at the future business. Like you said it. Where's the next $1 million coming from? Where's the next 10 million in sales coming from?
Yeah.
I had a great mentor who I sold a printing job. And I was walking through the hallway and he's like, I was all excited telling everybody I landed this account. And he goes, hey, kid, did you sell something? I said, yeah. He said, great, go make 10 more calls. And I was like, okay.
Well, they actually say that's very interesting, because we just went through this with researching like this idea of a growth mindset. And literally what you're saying is people that have a fixed mindset tend to look back at past accomplishments and think about them. People with a growth mindset move on immediately and start looking at new opportunities and approach new problems as an opportunity to learn and to grow, and ultimately contributes to their success.
Well, here's another one. We can end on this. When you're looking at your goals, everybody, if you did 6.8 million last year, and you tell me that your goal is 9 million for next year, I'm going to shove that back and challenge you that it's probably not a big enough increase, because your average sale price is 400,000. It's like 4 or 5 deals. Mm-hmm. Okay. So, and then agents go, I didn't look at it that way. So I took this as a perfect example of an agent down in Atlanta, and she told me her goal, and I said, okay, well, 6.8 is really 7. So you did 7. So you're only going to increase by 2 million. That's 4 deals for you. Or I guess, she had a 500 average sale price. She was, I didn't look at it that way. I said, right, let's make it like 10 with a stretched goal of 12. She's like, I love you. I said, I love you. Let's do this. You have to be thinking big.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You can go from $85,000 a year to make it $500,000. What does it do to your life?
Yeah.
And you don't have to do it working 10 times harder either. You can do it strategically with a plan and actually have work-life balance. And in my opinion, have it all, be able to have a system, have a business, run this. Real estate's the best kept secret. in the world. Where else can you have your broker have all the expenses and the costs and the risk? And I just come in and, list and sell houses, which is really, it's a pretty cool setup, I think. So if you're listening, download goldminepipeline.com or visit us at sherrijohnson.com. We're happy to give you the form. It's better when you have a coach, it really drives the business.
Keeps the accountability.
What's that?
I said, yeah, it keeps the accountability.
Yeah. I mean, it really does. I think, someone could take the system and run with it. But when you people I coach now, they have 25 people on the Goldmine Pipeline. They run an office, let's say with, 80 agents or whatever. And they're getting $75 million in sales after 1 year, 2.2 million, you guys, in GCI.
Yeah, it's unbelievable.
And the company revenue on that was like $465,000. That's pretty big.
But it makes perfect sense because in essence, what you're teaching people how to do is most important is start with the right mindset, shift your thinking, how you even think about business. And then you're applying really this Stephen Covey principle of begin with the end in mind. And you are literally going to this idea of like, hey, the future business, where you want to be, where you want to end up. You're also applying the principle of, hey, 10x what you're doing if you use Grant Cardone's language. But the reason why I love the thinking bigger too is because a great exercise I was taught one time was, okay, your goals, let's say for Josh and I, right? The goal is 60 million. We want to do $60 million in business. Well, why not 100 million? Put 100 million down. And what would it take to get 100 million? And literally go through that thought process and write it all out. Literally, what would it take to be at 100 million? And you'll find in doing that exercise that your mind expands. You can always contract. You can always go down to 60 million, right? But it's always hard to start small and go big. It's easier to go big and get small, right? And so go through that exercise of writing down what it takes, and you really starts opening up your mind of the possibilities and what you can implement. So I love your processes and strategies. I could literally talk to you all day, Sheri. I feel like we're just scratching the surface. Same. I would love for you, we ask all the people who come on the show, hey, knowing what you know now, what advice would you go back and give younger Sheri? Maybe think of the high school age girl. Like, what advice would you give her?
I had such great advice from my parents. It's kind of hard. I think I would have started Sherri Johnson coaching a lot sooner. I had some financial goals I wanted to hit, and I ended up hitting them. But I would have started. Tony Robbins was just starting out in the late 90s when I was starting real estate, and I remember my brother saying to me, because I said I'm going to have a national speaking, coaching, consulting company one day, and my brother said to me, "Go do it now." He was like, "Here, get on stage and do your thing now." And I was like, "Yeah, I think I need to learn real estate first." I think it all happened the way it did. I wish I had started the company sooner, but I don't regret it. I just think that when you tell yourself, when you avoid negative people and you learn from your mistakes, I think the greatest gift I gave myself was to fail forward and just. No matter how many times I fall down, it's that like fall down 7, get up 8 or whatever. And like, it's not how far, I just heard this recently from the enforcement. It's not how far you fall, it's how high you bounce. And I think that is like, nothing is, you make mistakes and you move forward, and you know what you want to do, and you just have to believe in yourself. That is, I think, the best advice that I gave myself, and I got this from my parents. I mean, my dad said to me, everybody has to work, Sheri. Everybody has to work. And he said to me, you might as well make the most money you can and dictate what that's going to be by owning your own business. And so, I believe in real estate. You can own your own business, be the CEO of your company. And the people we coach that make $3 million a year in GCI and have a wonderful business, or you make $750,000, whatever it is, you can do whatever it is. You have to be resilient, and you have to just take it and have thick skin. And then, never give up. I think that was my big thing. And I know that even the people, I'm a single mother on this executive job. And I'm like, I'm starting my national company, I don't care. And I didn't have a plan. It was in my head. I would go run 10 or 12 miles and figure it out in my head. And then I'd get, I launched it. I went up to people and said, I'm a national speaker. How can I add value to your company?
I love that.
You got to believe you are it before you are it. And Stephen Covey is one of my favorites.
So good.
Ever. So
yeah, I love
Begin with Your Mind is a principle base. Thank God I read that book in the 80s, but still pertinent today. Just do it. Stop thinking about it. Stop second guessing.
Take action, ladies and gentlemen. Take action.
I want that phrase.
Yeah.
I want that light up. I might.
That's been the theme of my life.
There you
Take
go.
action.
Sheri, thank you so much for coming on the episode today. Before we close out, I know you mentioned your website. Anywhere else that you would like people to connect with you?
Yes. Go to, first of all, I have a podcast that I think you guys will love to listen to. It's called You Rock, a real estate podcast with Sherri Johnson. That is available on all podcast platforms. We have about 150 episodes as of right now, and growing, about 3 episodes a week. Great interviews on there, great content. That can be a way you start your day, get in the right mindset, or learn some really great things that you could implement. It's called You Rock, again, with Sherri Johnson Coaching and Sherri Johnson. And then goldminepipeline.com will get you that ebook that we created to help people start the Goldmine Pipeline for themselves. And just check us out on sherrijohnson.com. We have some group coaching, an individual subscription plan that's really great for new people. If you want to look at our coaching programs, we'd love to have you. We are not right for everybody, but I believe that if you join us, you'll love the results. We actually provide unbelievable strategies that create unbelievable results. Our agents make, on average, over $160,000 in their first year of coaching with us, just from that. So the ROI is huge. And we are just out there to help and help you grow. And I love everything you guys are doing too. I can't wait to have you on my podcast. And
awesome. Well, we can't wait to be on.
Believers in what you're doing. And it adds huge value. I always had magazines. I love what you're doing. And so thanks for having me on your show. I'm grateful.
Love it. Thank you, Sheri, so much. Thank you all for listening. To get those links and to dive deeper into this episode, for the show notes and the video, you can go to staypaidpodcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode and want to show your support for the show, the first way is to head on over to Apple Podcasts, drop us a 5-star review along with a comment. And the best way to show your support of the show is to share this episode with a friend, share it on your social media, share it with a colleague, share it with someone that needs to hear this today. If you'd like to get hold of me or Luke, you can email us at podcast@remindermedia.com. And you can also follow us on Instagram. We are at Stay Paid Podcast, and on TikTok now at Stay Paid.
We're still trying to figure the TikTok game out.
Podcast. We had to put a little underscore in our TikTok name. But yeah, make sure to follow us there. For this episode of Stay Paid, I'm Joshua Stike.
Guys, I'm Luke Acree. Sheri, just thank you so much for coming on. Awesome interview. I really want to bring you back. I want to pick your brain on so many different things, but here's the action items, guys, for you. Because we want to boil this down to going, okay, how do you take action? How do you implement some of these things tomorrow? Stop thinking about it, start doing it. You need to go and implement the Goldmine Pipeline. Go and get that ebook, because if you just take the action step of thinking about what is in your actual pipeline, what are you actually looking at getting in the long term, I think it can be a huge differentiator. So that's one. Second is go check out Sheri's podcast. Third is you got to change your mindset. 3 action items, ladies and gentlemen. You got to change your mindset. And here's what I wanted to share. What I wanted to share is so many of us, we live our lives based upon the opinions of others. We do. We live our lives based upon the opinions of whether it's society or the opinions of what others are going to think about us. And we all know that's true. And here's my challenge to you is don't let the opinions of others become your reality. You have to control your opinion of your reality. And if you can just focus on that, of the 3 action items I gave you, if you can first control what your opinion of yourself is, it will change everything in your life, not just your business. It will change your relationships. It will change everything, because you're no longer being pulled along like a puppet on a string by society or by the world. You're controlling the string. You're no longer a puppet. So that's my action item for you guys.
Love it.
Remember, difference between top producers and mediocre producers is top producers take action. Take action on that today.